which will bring us to the Extreme Revolution stuff, Liam. There's a moment in this match, or in this month, where Mike Tenay is talking on commentary, and he's like, we have TNA Extreme, and it's clear this month that they are doing like an active, conscious pivot toward hardcore stuff.
Yeah, which is an interesting choice, because like you don't really know who's backstage pitching for that.
Well, I guess we have Raven here, and there was like a knock-on effect from Raven showing up, because Raven led to Sandman, Sandman led to Saturn, Saturn led to, as the people mentioned in this show, there's a bunch more showing up. So it's basically, we had one, and like the dominoes fell, because we did mention it when we were doing our 2002 year in review for TNA, that like, there wasn't a ton of hardcore extreme stuff. There was like the Dub Cup and some silliness, but...
Because like, the hardcore stuff isn't really Russo's MO, and it's not really Jarrett's MO either. So I guess the only really person of any significant power here that you can relate this to is Raven.
Raven's getting all his pals' jobs, and like for a while it does bring a new and fresh flavor to the show. So it's welcome for a while until they immediately run it into the ground.
Yeah, like it feels like the last month it was a fine reprieve from the boring stuff that was on the main event stuff, but now it's a little overblown, and I don't know, maybe. Some people, maybe you liked the wacky stipulations every week, but I just thought they were kind of dumb.
I liked one of them, and then I thought they jumped the shark, but we'll get into it. So April 2nd, we have a fun segment where, if you remember, the New Church helped out Saturn and Sandman last month, where they faced Sex in that Sadistic Madness match. So on the first show of the month, James Mitchell shows up to Saturn and Sandman because they're in a 6-man tag on the show against Daniels and the Harris Bros. And they're like, listen, guys, I return my favors. I may be a devil, but I'm an honorable one. So take Brian Lee or take Slash, and you can have him in the match. And then Saturn and Sandman are like, nah, we got it. And it's like, what do you mean you got it? We had a deal. I'm a man of my word. And like, no, it's fine. We got it. And Mitchell is so furious about this slight that they feud for the entire month.
They also go like, we got our own go. Like, we got extreme blood. That's the theme throughout this entire month, is extreme blood.
There's a lot of extreme blood on these shows. So in that match in which Sandman and Saturn face the Harris Bros and Daniels, their partner is New Jack.
Yes. Fuck yes.
Big New Jack making his TNA debut. He does 2 balcony dives this month. Well, one is more of a balcony fall.
And cuts arguably the best skit style promo we've had since Puppet and jacking off in a trash
and they
can.
get even better as we go into the later months of TNA, where New Jack shows his comedy side, which is good fun.
Yeah, New Jack's a great personality, and I am very happy to see him here.
Because as you mentioned in that promo, he's sitting backstage, he's playing chess with the Sandman.
This is like something that was so good that both of us clipped it and gifted it and posted it.
So they're playing chess, and Goldilocks walks up to them and it's like, hey guys, you have a match later, how do you feel? And the Sandman's like, can't you see we're playing chess? We're in the middle of a game, Goldie.
And then he gets a little misogynist.
Yeah, don't worry about it. But then, then New Jack cuts his promo where he's like, I'm not here to win matches. I don't care about winning matches.
I don't care about belts. If I win a belt, I'll go on porn.
My entire thing being here, the sole reason I'm in TNA is to find the highest point and jump off of it.
Fuck yeah.
So yes, in this match at the start of the month.
Whoa, you're blowing off the payoff to the segment, which is while New Jack's up and cutting this promo, he turns around and accuses Sandman of cheating because Sandman calls check, and then flips the board.
It's like, I paid my check. It's like, no, check is in the chess move. It's like, I'll check you. Flips the board.
Yeah, it's great. And then Sandman responds by just bursting his beer over his head.
As Goldie does her typical, oh God, freak out.
And her snarl that she does in the back of every interview.
Yes, Goldie, very strange. Like, you could just watch Goldie's facial expressions in an interview all day.
It's a year of this, you know what I mean? It's really taken a toll.
So, Saturn, Sandman, and New Jack defeat the Harris Bros and Daniels. After that match, Mike Barton debuts, the Bart Gun of the Smoking Guns from the World Wrestling Federation, winner of Brawl for All, and beats up Perry Saturn.
Most famous for getting beaten up at WrestleMania.
So, April 9th, we have the Harris Bros against Sandman and New Jack and the New Church in Armed Asylum. Like, there's so many gimmick matches.
What is Armed Asylum?
It's the same. Well, it's the same as Sadistic Madness, and it's the same as the Ultimate Sin match we have later in the month. It's just another name for a hardcore brawl.
But they didn't give it any no specifics this time.
Yeah, I think this one is like Falls Count Anywhere. They fight all over the asylum, I think.
Yeah. And there's weapons all throughout the asylum in different. But that seems to be what happens every time anyway.
This is also, of the matches they did this month, the one I liked.
Yeah, I liked the other one because it had a stupid gimmick.
They all had stupid gimmicks.
Yeah, but the one with the actual, like, we're going to barbed wire one corner of the ring.
So I thought this one was just utter chaos, where, like, there was just tables, and tables refused to break. There's at least 2 bumps in this match where just somebody's dropped on a table and it doesn't break. There's, like, 4 other table spots. Slash jumps off a balcony. New Jack jumps off a balcony.
Slash is insane.
Yeah, Slash bleeds on every show, multiple times. He's in 2 matches on one of these shows, and he bleeds twice. So...
It's the same blood. He just doesn't clean it off. It's great.
Like, there is nobody who likes bleeding more than Slash. Maybe in wrestling history. He bleeds so much in TNA.
And that's saying something with being a guy who's on the same show as Raven.
So, yeah, the Harris Bros win this match. The story of the match is that New Jack does a balcony dive. He drops Brian Lee through a table with an elbow drop.
Story.
It is the story. The story of the match is New Jack does a balcony dive, so he has left Sandman on his own, and Sandman gets pinned by the Harris Bros.
You know what? Fair enough. Turnabout's fair played the Sandman.
Yeah. This is revenge for what he did to Steve Corino. Yeah, he's really not one to be able to be like, yo, you left me there.
There's a time that you just didn't show up for a match.
There's a note in the PW Torch. Scott D'Amore's role backstage is said to be part agent, part production staff. One of his duties is to talk over the matches with the wrestlers and then take his notes to the production crew so that they know which specific spots to look for. And the main reason they did this is because Perry Saturn in the match with Mike Sanders, you can clearly see him blading. So they're like, we need somebody in the truck who knows what's going to happen and knows, like, cut away, he's going to cut himself.
Mike Barton, not Mike Sanders, but yes.
Mike Sanders against Perry Saturn would have been a very different match.
It could have been as bloody, to be
That
honest.
is very true. But we will go to that. It is Perry Saturn against Mike Barton, and Mike Barton's only appearance, besides his only match. He doesn't appear after this. He's done. In, honestly, like, one of the most underrated matches in TNA history.
Just the shoot
It
fight.
is a legit shoot fight where they're just punching each other, they're doing suplexes, they're throwing each other into steps, they're bleeding, they're doing more suplexes. Like, this match has an amazing story. So...
You have to go check it out, by the way. Like, if you're listening to this, go watch it.
Go straight, right there. NWA-TNA pay-per-view number 40, April 9th.
Yeah, 40.
Go watch Mike Barton against Perry Saturn. So the story of the match is Mike Barton is wailing on Saturn. Saturn is bleeding. Saturn is struggling to compete. He's, like, falling all over the place. But every time Barton punches Saturn, Saturn's like, punch me again. And punch me again. And punch me again. And eventually... Barton punches Saturn in the head so much that Barton breaks his own hand. Perry Saturn does a little hip toss, grabs the hand, wrenches it in the other direction,
breaks
and Barton taps out immediately. So, like, the story of the match is that Saturn is so resilient that he had Barton punch him in the head so often until Barton broke his own hand and then tapped him out.
And the submission finish is so sick looking too.
Oh yeah, it does look like he literally wrenches his wrist in the other direction. It's like, oh god. Even without the whole breaking hand context, that probably would have been a good submission finish.
Yeah, this is tremendous.
Because you don't get matches like this in TNA. You don't get, like, physical matches. You don't get shoot fights. But you also don't get matches that have that kind of deep, like, psychological story. The Saturn literally willing him to punch him until he breaks his hand. You don't get that kind of layer in a lot of these TNA matches.
It's because, like, you know, does Vince Russo give a shit about any of this kind of storytelling?
No, so you just get tables and like, good X Division matches, to be fair, but the X Division matches are a very different kind of wrestling.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, they're rarely going out there trying to tell a full match-long story either. They're just like, let's do some cool spots that are cool.
Whereas these guys, it's like, we're going to go out there, tell a story, and beat the shit out of each other. Which, what more do you want in pro wrestling?
It's basically it, right?
I'm very disappointed Mike Barton never comes back.
I kind of like it. It's like he's this legend that just came about and left his mark and, you know, never was seen again.
And it's Saturn's best match in TNA too.
Definitely.
Speaking of Saturn, he has a match the next month, or the next week, as he faces the New Church's new guy. So James Mitchell is like, alright, I went out and I've gone extreme myself. So he brings in Mike Awesome to face Perry Saturn.
Fuck yes. God, this show rules now.
You get the debuting Mike Awesome joining the New Church to fight against his extreme brethren. So he faces Saturn. They go to a DQ. Apparently, Mike Awesome suffered a concussion admitted into the match and collapsed when he got backstage. So that's not good, but still. Well, the most upsetting thing about this match is Mike Awesome sets up a table at ringside and no one gets powerbombed through it.
We need Spike Dudley to come in at some point.
Yeah, it's rectified later in the show, but still, he sets up a table and no one goes through the table. That's against the rules of pro wrestling.
Table. If a table is introduced, it must be used.
It is the rule. But yeah, it's a pretty good match. They mostly just do shoot throws. They throw each other around.
It's fun.
So later in the show, we get Sandman and New Jack against the New Church in a match where Just Incredible makes his debut, Liam.
I don't care about Just Incredible. He just never was a guy that interested me. He was from an era of ECW that I didn't really invest much time into. The one thing I will appreciate about Just Incredible is his commitment to the bit by wearing an Uncle Cracker shirt in this debut, which obviously, Garrett, you know from X Factor fame.
Yes, definitely.
You know you're dealing with the X Factor. I give you everything you ever wanted and I'll never get that back.
Do you know all the lyrics
Banging
to the
song.
X Factor theme?
If I had it with me, I could sing along, but I don't know them off the top of my head.
It's disappointing.
But yes, absolute good reference there from Just Incredible. That's about it. I don't care for the dude very much. As we were talking about on the old the watch along, which you can go listen to at teenagechat.com. It must suck for him to be the other ECW guy who has the kendo stick. That's a bad position to be in to get over. But yeah, he's here.
He does do some good stuff with Jerry Lynn in TNA that you can look forward to.
Yeah, like this thing, I've never doubted he's always been a good mid-card work guy, but I don't know, he's not the most interesting debut this month.
So yeah, New Church beat Sandman and New Jack after Mike Awesome shows up and power bombs New Jack through a table. To the floor, by the way. So good stuff.
Fuck yeah. Well, New Jack's ain't a bitch. He's going to take that
but
shit.
Yeah, lights went out for New Jack's debut in the first show of the month. Lights went out for Just Incredible's debut here. So it's building the lights out Sabu showing up.
And lights out next month as well.
For Just Incredible again.
Yes, which is they did it, the crowd reacted, it turned back on, and they went, oh.
So Just Incredible, Just Incredible did get a good reaction for his first debut.
Yeah, but you can't do it again. This is like when AEW was running it every week.
It's my favorite thing when Malachi Black comes out every week. The lights go out, and every week there's a pop, and I don't think it's for Malachi Black. It's because who's gonna show up? No, it's just Malachi Black.
Yeah, but then Malachi Black comes up and the pop sustains. So people don't go they go, oh, okay, it's Malachi.
As opposed to the period where the lights went out for Sean Spears' entrance, and then it's oh.
Or the Butcher and the Blade's debut.
Yeah.
I get why you do it. The lights out gimmick is fucking awesome, but you have to save it.
NWA-TNA pay-per-view number 42, April 23rd. Saturn, New Jack and Sandman defeat the New Church and Awesome in the Ultimate Sin match.
Yeah, I like this one. This one was fun.
This one was the one where I was like, all right, I've had enough of this.
Fair enough. I probably this is the one that I went back to after having a break of it, so maybe that.
Because you watched most of these shows 2 weeks ago, and then the rest yesterday, didn't you?
Yeah. So I got to come back in for this one fresh,
as opposed to watching all these back to back and just being like, stop doing crowd brawls.
See, that's me when I'm watching it, and I'm like, stop having Brian Lawler wrestle or Brian James wrestle or anyone. Just stop doing this Memphis Heat matches, please.
So yeah, Saturn, New Jack, and Sandman won the match. They were doing a bunch of stuff. Just Incredible showed up. The thing was they had a bat on a pole, wasn't it? Or on the top of the ladder?
Yeah, it was a bat. Yeah, it was on top of the ladder. It was the kendo on top of the... which was a great line from James Mitchell when he's like, Sandman, I know you and your wife have been talking about a vasectomy. And because to get the Singapore cane, you had to risk the barbed wire. But Just Incredible shows up on the ladder, hits someone, probably Slash, let's just assume. Slash with the kendo stick, climbs up, grabs the bat, and does a brutal bat shot off of the ladder.
Yeah, he a jumping bat shot.
And that was one of those things where I was like, that has to be a worked bat. That has to be a plastic one, because that would have caved.
I don't know. James Mitchell in his promo was talking about how this is real barbed wire, not WCW barbed wire. So I think it's a real bat.
That'd be funny. It's yeah, we use real barbed wire, but a fake bat. Come on.
Even Mike Tenay repeats that on commentary. It's this ain't no WCW barbed wire.
I didn't know there was such a WCW barbed wire controversy.
Them using their fake barbed wire. But there's a note in the PW Torch, actually, I didn't include it in the notes, where there was Jarrett realized you can't do the lights out for somebody showing up for the second time.
Yeah.
Just Incredible should just run out. You don't need to turn the lights off.
Well, it was good payoff because you paid it off in the Raven match.
You know what? You're right. To be fair, it is another ECW guy is going to show up. Because actually, they wanted Johnny Grunge as well as part of this angle, but he turned them down because Rocco Rocket recently passed away.
And what, didn't they have like some sort of we don't want to go there deal?
They want nothing to do with TNA.
This is also the fun Russo moment.
Oh yeah, where James Mitchell is describing the rules of the Ultimate Sin match, and Russo was accidentally in the background.
Yeah, was he describing the rules or was he just talking to Goldie?
No, it was both. He was backstage with Goldie explaining the rules of the Ultimate Sin.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they did because they did the video hype for it, and then they did the recap kind of talking.
It's like, well, what are the rules of the? Because they're like, we have an Ultimate Sin match tonight. We'll have James Mitchell tell you the rules in a minute.
And then just you see Vince pop his head out like, ooh.
And then the last part of the month, there's a little infighting in Sex. The story of the last show of the month is that basically Sex is jealous of Raven's use of the Team Extreme, is what they're now going by. The group of Saturn, Sandman, New Jack, and Just Incredible. Raven's not technically in the group. The group are helping Raven.
Yeah, and then they got pissed because Raven goes to them.
Raven goes to them and they're arguing with Sex, and Sex is jealous, thinking Raven's abandoning them for his old Extreme pals, and they have a bit of an argument in the last show of the month.
So we'll see where that goes.
Well, at the very least, they show up, help Raven, Sabu shows up, runs them off, and we'll pick this up in May.
Yeah, we got the four-way tag match where they kind of work together towards the end.
Yeah, what was it? It's Sex, AMW, Harris Bros, and the Extreme guys?
It was Sad Incredible, Harris Brothers, AMW, and New Church, and towards the end, the Harris Brothers kind of help Sad and Incredible get the win.
So Sex and the Extreme guys are kind of getting along, or will they? Who knows?
So will they, won't they?
Yeah, the majority of the debuts this month did feature all of the Extreme guys. So yeah, Just Incredible, you had New Jack, you had Mike Barton, but feuding with Saturn, and you had Mike Awesome all showing up, making their debuts, and the return of Sabu.
Of course, which is much welcomed. Wonderful pants on that.
Oh
guy.
yeah.
Nice aqua blue.
Good stuff. Good gear.